and other kids do it. And
There's just his microphone falling off.
There you go.
No. That's a good story. Keep going.
And welcome back to the TowerCast podcast, the towering podcast for the towering filmmakers. We are very excited to have and announce a very special guest today on the podcast. But before I get there, I want to, as per usual, introduce my co-host, John Eric Castro.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Let's have fun.
And Mr. Michael De La O.
Hello.
Mr. Michael De La O provides this cinematographer kind of aspect to the show. John Eric Castro is a very, very, very talented actor who's going to be providing that perspective. And last but not least, we also have Austin Young, keeping us young.
How's it going, everybody?
That's our producer. And my name is Carlos de la Torre. I am happy to be on here trying to give you guys a writer-director perspective on this podcast.
Enough of that.
Yeah. Forget that guy.
Are we here for that?
Very excited to introduce our guest today, the very talented Jessica Meraz. How are you doing, Jessica?
Ooh.
be here. I'm great. Thank you.
Jessica, for those who are listening in and aren't familiar with her amazing body of work, has done just fantastic work. I should preface this by saying she's a fellow El Pasoan. Born and raised, and currently in El Paso right now, where she's at right now. So I preface that before I announce her amazing body of work, just to name a few things, a few of my favorite things that she's been on. She's played a very cool, like us, a supervillain on Supergirl.
So jealous.
She's done a very cool show called Major Crimes. She's done a number of short films, and one of my favorite things that she's done is she was on the show Drunk History, which is, if you haven't seen it, is just a fantastic show, and where you get a little drunk and talk some history. But a bunch of people have been on it, and Jessica has been part of that body of work, which is really cool. Unfortunately, if I'm not mistaken, it's been canceled, and they're kind of trying to shop it at other networks. So hopefully they bring it back, because I think it's a very cool little show. It was at Comedy Central originally, if I'm mistaken. Yeah. And Jessica was on that, a very cool episode herself, and we'll get to talk about that, I hope. The last thing we had the pleasure of seeing her in was a very cool TV series, web series, I should say, called PlayStation Girl. And it was kind of the announcement of Cyberpunk 2077. We're kind of game heads over here, Jessica, so we're those typical dudes who play video games, and we're very excited for Cyberpunk. So that particular video just like made us laugh thoroughly, because we relate with him entirely.
Yeah, sorry if like after you made that you were trying to get away from this community, because we just like brought you like back into it.
Yeah. So yeah, just to name a few of the things she's done. But typically we kick off the show, Jessica, with just a little anecdote about how we met or how we knew you. And I want to kick that off because this is a very special moment in my career, personally, in my filmmaking journey. And I'll never forget, we were honored enough to win first place and the audience award in the El Paso 2-Day Challenge. And it's something that we've been really happy about. And you kind of sort of got to co-MC with Drew, but not only that, you were also one of the judges for the films. And when you announced the first place winner, which was Tower Productions, I'll never forget what you said. You said, you kind of opened up the envelope and you said, "Oh, I fought for this one. I fought for this one." And then you said, "Tower Productions, you know what's funny?" And I haven't talked to you about this. I want to ask you what that was about, because there's clearly some type of meaning behind it, but it meant a lot to us. So yeah.
That's so sweet. Aw, I love that. Well, it's like 2 years ago now, right?
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, just about.
Come on.
Yeah,
I know, such a terrible memory, but I remember your movie and I loved it, and I do remember calling Drew and being like, no, this is whatever it was, certain awards that were kind of up in the air, or we might discuss. There was voting. I think there were 5 judges or 4 judges.
Sure.
But I definitely butted my nose into like, no, and you know what it was? I think you guys had the last line where it was in the credits, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Special line. And Drew had not finished the movie.
Oh,
he
okay.
watched up until before the credits, and the reason I'm just going to tell you guys the truth.
Please.
You guys weren't going to win.
Oh, wow.
Because he thought that you hadn't added in that line.
Wow.
Oh.
And I said, Drew, you're missing the last line. It was and that's why you guys won. I think you won best use of the line also.
We did. Yeah, best use of the line.
Missed that. And I said, no. We were going over our results, and I said, this one has to win best line. They did it. It was so awesome. What was the line?
The line was.
I hope you kept your mouth shut.
I hope you've kept your mouth shut.
And then you put some late.
You guys had like a gay couple, right?
Yeah.
It reveals
and
at the end.
Totally missed that. And he was like, you won't win because they missed that element. And I said, you're missing the best part of the movie.
Yeah.
I don't think it was the best part, but he watched it again and he was like, you're totally right. And I think you guys owe me quite a bit.
I think we owe you dinner. You're right. You're absolutely right, Jessica. You know what?
I definitely loved your movie and thought it should win. And I thought you guys should win that line.
Thank you so much, Jessica.
Man,
we
means a
appreciate
lot.
that. We're grateful. To talk a little bit about that line, I'm sure you're familiar with films. There's a film called Some Like It Hot, classic picture with Marilyn Monroe, Jack Lemmon, and there's a line at the end of that film, and that's why we kind of borrowed that type of sentiment. There's a line at the end of the film where Jack Lemmon's character is kind of just he's been dressed up as a girl for some amount of time, and a rich man has been courting her/him, right? And he reveals the big reveals. Obviously, they're not women, they're men, and he kind of keeps saying like, no, but I'm a woman, I have bad breath in the morning, da da da. Finally takes off the wig and says, but I'm a man. And the billionaire says, well, nobody's perfect. And that's how the film ends. So we kind of thought, when I wrote the script, I was like, we got to pay an homage to Some Like It Hot and have this little moment. And that's why it's in the end credits, because we thought, well, it could kind of close
that's the genius of Carlos and the director right there.
What a cinephile, I think I love that.
Oh, well, I mean, we love. If there's one thing about Tower and all of the filmmakers, not me exclusively at all of the filmmakers in Tower are absolute cinephiles, Jessica. I mean, so much so that we have another podcast dedicated to just film reviews.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so I mean, hopefully we can have you on that one too.
Yeah, we're those nerds.
Yeah. But that's kind of where that line came from, and that's why we put it in the end. But it makes a ton of sense. I mean, a ton of sense if people didn't see it all the way to the end.
Yeah,
I mean,
like into the last element, Yeah.
We owe you a bottle of wine, Jessica. What can I tell you? I've always been curious though. I've always been curious about that moment because we knew of you, and we knew when Drew, like I said, Drew's a good buddy of ours, and we knew when he was bringing you back to judge and to kind of host the event. We're like, oh, that's really cool. It's Jessica Meraz, So without further ado, Jessica, we'd all like to know how your journey started as a performer, as a filmmaker, because you're not only an actress and a performer, but you're also a writer, well within your own right. And I know you've been transitioning into those types of moments. We were lucky enough to see your film that you wrote, which Robert Orlean directed.
Shout out.
Which was Good Evening, El Paso. And I know you wrote that, and Robert actually on the show, when we had him on, explained that was your vision. That came from your heart. And it was hilarious to say the least. But I mean, we'd love to talk about it. How did your whole journey start in filmmaking, TV, etc.?
Okay. Well, I started in theater. I did theater since I was really little. Probably about 7, I'd say I really started doing theater, and I did plays all over town. So I started with Kids and Company. I don't know if you guys know.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
They're a staple in El Paso, yeah.
Oh, I grew up in Kids and Company, and I was, I would do at least 3 plays a year with Kids and Company.
Wow.
And I would do them through. There used to be a company called Music Theater El Paso. I think that they were. They disassembled a long time ago.
Sure.
I would do plays also at UTEP, at the Union Dinner Theater.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, so musicals. I'm not a great singer, but I did musical theater.
Sure.
And it was really cool. My whole family got involved. My parents have always been really supportive, which I know is not the case for everybody. So I'm very grateful for that.
Sure.
My dad would do plays. He would perform. And my dad is a doctor here in town. He's a dermatologist. And he, after work would, come to the theater with us. And my sister plays with us. So it started in theater. And then I, right around high school, decided I again was very lucky to have really supportive parents who sent me to film and television camp.
Okay, like a summer camp, or
yeah.
Sure.
It's. I'm aware of this beautiful privilege I had to be able to go for a summer. I think I was about a month that I got to go to Los Angeles and do a film. I'd only done theater. So I went to a film and television camp in Los Angeles between my junior and senior year of high school.
Wow.
And I was like, okay, yeah. Once I saw other kids it was this exposure.
Sure.
And there were other kids from over the country who were there, and they were going to pursue this professionally. And it didn't seem so far away. I'm coming from I know everything can seem so far here.
Sure.
And pursue something professionally, and to have that. So I'm in the summer camp, and you're seeing these other kids my age from Washington D.C. and Los Angeles and New York, and I'm doing these classes with them, and I'm like, if they can do it, I can do it.
Right.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say like you got humbled or something, but you were confident.
No, I was like, if they can, like, there's nothing that I think that's what we, we have everything that we need.
Right.
It's just hard to.
It's kind of that weird, like, El Paso mentality that, I think growing up, you don't see a lot of that, maybe exposure and all that kind of stuff. So then think I can break out of it and all that, or I can jump into this kind of world feels far-fetched. But like an opportunity like that, I can't.
No, but it's beautiful that you say that you were. I mean, I don't know. Maybe there were more El Pasoans there, maybe not. But I can imagine. Yeah, I can imagine you were the only El Pasoan at this camp, and to see. Yeah, these actors from all over the world.
Yeah, to see these other people. Yeah, and there were people from England and to go.
Crazy.
And then like we're all just kids, right? We're all just human beings. There's nothing that some of these people have that we can't either that we don't have.
Was it kids as in children of all ages, or was it just kind of high school?
We're all around the same age.
Okay, gotcha. So because the reason I ask is because, like you said, between junior year and senior year, you got to start making that decision. Am I going to go to college? Am I going to do this as a career? Am I going to pursue acting? So you say you feel like it sounds like maybe this was a pivotal point in your life to say, I'm going to be doing this. And
it really became more apparent to me as I've gotten older. But I think back and I'm like, wow, it was really that camp that because when I was a little girl,
solidified it.
I was like, I want to be an actress when I grow up. I want to be an actress when I grow up.
Sure.
I went, and the camp was awesome. It was a New York Film Academy, and we would do short films in the Universal Studios Backlot.
Oh my God.
I don't even think they do it like that anymore, but we're in the Backlot with the Jaws sets and with what's it called? King Kong, and you're there, and we're filming these short films on Bates Motel. And I'm like, do this.
If anybody's ever been to the Universal Backlot, I mean, it's one of the most universal, literally, no pun intended, universally recognized backlots, because like she says, if you take the Backlot tour just as a tourist, you get to see the Bates Motel, the Psycho House. You get to see, I have to do it every time I go to LA. Jessica, I have to go to the Universal Backlot tour every time. And my wife is probably sick of it at this point, but it's always Universal Studios, the first thing we do when we get to the park. And I mean, you got sets like the Jaws set. Now, more recently, they installed the Ron Howard's The Grinch, Who Stole Christmas, a Jim Carrey film. That Backlot set is there. It's a big playground, man. It's a big playground in terms of that. So I can only imagine as a student, as a kid.
Yeah, like it's not like this anymore. But we had such free reign. It was a really good time. We got to just shoot on in that like Wild West lot where now they right? There was like a Wild West, there was this, and we were walking through, we could do whatever we wanted. Yeah. And so anyway, that was a very, very influential experience.
Sure.
And I didn't want to come back. But
did you go to the camp because you were thinking about acting in the camp, or was it?
Yeah, it was an acting. It was an acting camp.
Strictly acting.
So they had directing camp. You would do different focuses, and mine was acting for film. Wow. And so you would do classes, and then you would do films, and it was about a month. And I'd never been by myself.
Was there ever a transition point for you, Jessica, in terms of, you say you grew up doing theater? Did you always know you wanted to jump into film, or was there a moment or a film or something,
That's a good question. There was another thing that happened. I love the live aspect of theater. I still do. And I think, sorry, I didn't put my phone on silent. I think when I got there to the camp, I remember hearing other people singing, and I was like, oh, I'm not that good. I was like, actually, I'm not. That was one thing where like, oh, I can do all this. Well, I'm just as good of an actress as this. I'm just as good. And I was like, but singing, it turns out I'm not that great. So maybe Broadway isn't the way that I should go. I did love the idea of doing Broadway, but it turns out that I was like, I want to be a film. And
it's true though. If you're not, if you're seeing this on YouTube and Facebook, I'm wearing my Seb shirt very proudly, my La La Land shirt. And if you're not well versed in, I remember taking courses in college about Broadway theater and acting and all of that, courses you have to take, right? And I fell in love with that world, and it's true, if you're not the quote unquote the triple threat as strongly as other people, it's competitive. If you can't dance, can't sing, you have to kind of have all three very, very well tight knit to go in that world. It's kind of scary, I can imagine, as an actor, right?
Those singers are extraordinary singers, and not like the kind of, I'm on key singing that I could do here,
If you can rap, Jessica, the minute that Hamilton comes to El Paso, I want to direct it. So we're gonna have to cast you in that Hamilton reimagining.
I could sing like those Hamilton people.
Aren't they amazing? Aren't they just fantastic performers all around? I've been obsessed. With Hamilton the past year.
It's going to be the 5th time it becomes a Hamilton show, I swear.
Yeah, really. No, I haven't seen it live. I have friends that have gone and
tried, and I can never get a ticket. It's like the lotteries, and I can't get a ticket.
Yeah, I've heard friends that have gotten lucky enough not only to see them in New York, but in the traveling companies like in Phoenix and other places. And whenever big productions come to El Paso, I'm always wanting to see the Book of Mormon. I can never get a ticket for some reason. Wicked, all of these. Hopefully they do a traveling one in El Paso, and that'll be our luck.
We had tickets for Les Mis. That's my favorite musical.
Very cool. Yeah.
All time. And it was coming, I think, in March, right after the pandemic hit. My family had front row seats to Les Mis. We were so excited. We've seen it at least 10 times. We love it.
Sure.
And then the pandemic hit. So I think it's been rescheduled to next year, but I think they're pushing a whole other year. I don't know. But go to that one, because that's my favorite one of all time.
Yeah, no. It's fantastic. I have seen that one on an off-Broadway kind of touring company thing. But how do you feel about the film? Do you like the film?
Well, there's like 8 different Les Mis.
You're right. The Anne Hathaway one. That's the one that seems to.
Claire Danes one too. Oh, so good.
Sure.
That was not a musical version, but I love that one.
Right.
It's a soft spot. I love it.
Yeah. Sorry, but we were talking about you and kind of your experience.
Yeah.
And
I finished high school at Coronado, and I only applied to colleges in LA.
Wow.
I didn't apply to anywhere else. I refused to apply anywhere else. I was going to LA.
Had your mindset.
Yeah, that was it. And I went to USC, and I studied theater at USC.
Wow.
And I just had to show my dad my diploma because I graduated, and I had to show him we now put it up in my bedroom because
there you go.
They were like, "Did you graduate?" I was like, "Yes, it's in the drawer somewhere." I studied theater, and then immediately, just as soon as I could, I started getting an agent and pounding the pavement.
I have to ask you about that experience, because for those, if you know cinema and you know a little bit of cinematic history, you know that USC is I mean, the USC Film School, the USC Film School at least, is a big deal for filmmakers. I mean, you're talking people like George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, Brian De Palma. This is where all these guys met, was in USC Film School.
It's number one in the world. I might be biased, but it's I think it's number one.
It's USC, and then I think right under that you have like NYU and UCLA. But USC is definitely, you're absolutely right. I mean, so much so that George Lucas recently donated a whole wing to the university, and he has a Lucas building there at the school. But it's a big deal, and that's where a lot of filmmakers come to be, and a lot of filmmakers come out of it. Did you experience any collaborations, anything that you felt kind of solidified your being there?
Oh yeah, it was full of buzz. The campus was always full of buzz.
Sure.
The film school was incredible. The theater school is also incredible. But
I bet.
It's very classic. We were very classically trained. I wish I would have had more. Some of my best kind of real life classes that I had for stuff that serves me most now were through the film school, and I got to take a bunch of film school classes.
Sure.
And they were awesome.
Wow. Were they all like short films for like the final, or how was it?
No, sure there were. We did a lot of short films, and you said earlier, I'd done a ton of short films. I actually haven't done that many short films, but
I mean, based on your IMDb page, you kind of see short here and there. I mean, so
maybe, okay. I guess, but we had all, being in LA. And I guess that's a lie. I guess I did do several short films in college, but you have access, so
right.
all of the professors bring in their friends to come in and guest, and all the classes are, I was exposed to, for example, one class I remember the teacher was Peter Bonners, and he directed most of the Friends episodes.
Oh, wow.
The other teacher was his producing partner who produced most of them, and we did a class that was a sitcom class.
Oh man, that's.
And we cast a sitcom. We produced, and this was a film class, so I wasn't acting in it, but we got to produce this whole thing, and we've got these huge stages. USC has so much money, so much,
sure,
the best of everything, and we just got to do an entire sitcom, watch it all happen, and he helped us along the way. Or the film classes that we had where we studied films, or where we studied TV shows. So there was another television class that we had that was one of my favorite classes there, and every week it would be a different different show. So we did The Wire, and they would do the first episode, the pilot, and then the latest episode, which hadn't aired yet. And we're like kids, so we're like all excited to see the newest one.
Yeah, right.
And they would have the whole cast and the filmmakers come and sit there for us,
My goodness.
So they did The Simpsons, and they did the first 48, which I remember.
Wow.
Was, oh my God, this is crazy. It was really.
I'm filling out my USC application, guys. I don't know. I'm doing this now because
I'm telling the kid right now.
Privilege. It was a privilege. I'm aware, and I didn't want to go to college. I wanted to go straight and get an agent and start working.
Sure.
But I'm so grateful for that experience. It ended up being something that I appreciate so much more now.
Now, you getting all this exposure to the different mediums of, and I think it's something a lot of people don't realize, that when you're an actor, actress, when you're a director, a writer, it's not just, I'm going to go into film and TV. It's, well, what type of film and TV what type of stories do I want to tell? Do I want to be a sitcom actor? Do I want to be a theater actor? Do I want to be, I mean, was there something that you thought, oh man, I really love this format of this. I'd love to pursue more jobs like this. Cause I'll tell you one thing, as a director and a writer, I'm no actor by any sense of the imagination. But one thing I am jealous of from actors is that you can become so versatile in your work. And directors and writers are a little bit more selfish. We tend to develop a style. Our idea of typecasting in terms of directing and writing, that's kind of a privilege for us because we get to work in our wheelhouse and do that for 20 years before we decide, I want to try something different. You want to perfect kind of your style and perfect what you want to do. But actors are put me in the horror film one week and the next week put me in the comedy, you know. So is there something that you were exposed to that you thought, man, I'm really good at this, or I really love this genre or this type of format? Is that something that you felt, you know?
I will say that I was surprised at how much more comedy I've done than drama.
Sure.
I didn't really expect that. It wasn't something I saw it, and then all of a sudden, that was kind of the first stuff. You know, all of a sudden, it just kind of started taking more of a comedic turn, and it's really more. I mean, for me, it has been more out of. I wish I had more control to say I'd rather do a sitcom.
Of course.
I'm just trying to work.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true.
I'll try it.
I'd like to pay my bills. I would like to. This is it. I was all in. I have no backup. I did nothing else.
Yeah.
Every tool I have is only for this. If this doesn't work out for me, I'm screwed. So,
LA apartment and houses are expensive, man. You just got to pay the bills. Right?
I wish it had been more of like, I'm going to take more of like this path, but I've just been pounding the pavement. And
I mean, and sorry, you were saying that?
That's whatever the agent gives you, right? It's like, hey, you got this part. You want to try it?
Oh yeah. And I'm like, that's me.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
No, and that opens doors. Don't get me wrong. I know that as an actor, that opens doors, especially early on, fresh out of college. I'm sure the biggest thing, say yes to everything, and eventually something big. And for you, big doors have opened, and we'll get into that right now. But I think it's interesting that actors tend to have that versatility. I mean, even late in their careers, just look at Meryl Streep's career and all the versatility she has in her performances. Look at Robert De Niro's career, Al Pacino. I mean, they've played the comedic aspects and they've played the series drama aspects, and they've even gone on sitcoms here and there. So
look at Hugh Grant or Matthew McConaughey. They started off doing
comedies,
rom-com, and then they decided they wanted to go a totally different direction, and now their work is just so.
And now McConaughey has an Oscar, for Dallas Buyers Club, one of the most serious dramatic roles that he's ever been.
And Hugh Grant just did some of his best work on The Undoing.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to. It's funny that you bring up the USC aspect and being exposed to these different filmmakers and actors and everybody, because we had Carlos Corral on the show a few episodes ago, and a good friend of ours, and he's done amazing work with the El Paso Film Festival. Some of your films which have been screened there, which is really cool, he was telling us about the UT aspect, where again they had to have professors from. You had guys like Robert Rodriguez coming into the class, guys like Richard Linklater coming in to teach. I mean, all of these, and the professors, like you say, they're friends with them. I mean, they're legitimately friends with these industry professionals or industry, heroes of ours. And I think it's very interesting that the university could very well become. Let me put it to you this way: we all went to UTEP here in the podcast. Jessica, and UTEP is starting to kind of form the film school route, where before it was more of a news station, focus. And we met all of our filmmaker friends there, and we met all of the actors in the UTEP theater department or the UTEP dinner theater. A lot of them at the EPCC dinner theater or theater department rather. So it's crazy how much that opens at least your worldview to work with different people, right? I think it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, it's such a collaborative medium. We can't do anything. I mean, I guess during quarantine it's been different, but we don't do this alone. So it's really our circles, and you see that professionally, all these people that stay with groups, they work with their friends. And
I love that you look, like I said, I've named some of the top rated shows that you've been on and TV movies and stuff like that, but you're still open to collaborate with different filmmakers. Let me put it to you this way: we've met our share of actors who, as soon as they become SAG-AFTRA, we never hear from them anymore, partially because it's the rules, and when you're SAG, you can't sometimes you can't work with indie companies. But it's interesting that you're very much open to collaborating still and working on your craft. I really admire that. I think that's a big deal. You haven't quite gone Hollywood, quote unquote, so to speak.
Well, she went villain. She got my dream role. How was that like? Did you always want to be a villain, or because everybody wants to be a hero, but nobody thinks about
really?
being a villain?
I'd rather be a villain.
Right?
Well, mostly I've played kind of bad girls, which is, my first big role was on Chasing Life.
That's right.
And it was an ABC Family show, which then became Freeform.
Right.
And so that was kind of like my first regular job.
Wow.
And I was the bad girl on that.
Natalie Ortiz, right?
Yeah. And actually,
what type of bad? Like the bad friend or like the evil?
No, I played the secret sister. That was like, I was very, I was they set me up to be like a real villain. Not really. Well, okay. So I play the main character has cancer.
Okay.
And she finds out in the first episode in the pilot that her dad, she's like going to her dad's grave and she's like, oh, Dad, I have cancer, whatever. And then as she's leaving, she sees another girl walk up who is not her sister. She's got a sister already, and put flowers on the grave. And she's like, what? And it was like the dad's birthday or whatever. So she finds out that her dad had an affair with a Mexican woman. This is like a white family, right. A Mexican woman, and has this secret child. So I'm the secret child. And then, there's all these mixed feelings because I've kind of been an ignored secret child. Sure. So I, at some point, date the guy that she'd been dating. And I'm kind of like this vixen.
You went evil.
So this vixen secret child. So I kind of got used to being like a little bit of like all my, we were always fighting, and she's like the main character with cancer. You know what I mean?
So much so that the tagline of the show, I've seen a couple posters of it, and it's like "Cancer sucks." Like that's the tagline.
That's what it's about, is like this 20-something-year-old who has the whole world of. It was a pretty groundbreaking show, I think, because there weren't any shows about young people with cancer. Yeah. This was this young girl with cancer, and there is a huge community of young people with cancer who had never TV. So
it sounds like your involvement in Chasing Life, I have to ask, was that your first? You say this was your first big role. Was that your first experience? Also, I know the actors' kind of experiences. We're shooting a pilot and it might not get picked up, and clearly it got picked up. So you were involved since the pilot. Was that an experience for you? Did you think?
Oh, it's thrilling. It was super thrilling. It was, you do the pilot, you don't know. We went to Boston to shoot the pilot. Oh, that's so thrilling. I think it was my first time flying first class.
Yeah.
I had to get in my nice apartment.
By the way, we're not phased, so you can tell these quote unquote Hollywood stories, and they're only going to excite us. So please,
I still get excited. All of these things that I get to do, and any actor friends that I have who have kind of been in the business for a while, they're always like, you still get so excited about, I still, if I get a part, I'm jumping up and down, and they're like, I'm so like, but I'm when I see the backlot of Universal, I'm like, it's all
good.
Yes.
One of the most thrilling things about Chasing Life, actually, we talk about maybe not feeling the accessibility, but I remember being a little girl, and people would talk about this actress, Laura Herring. And she was from El Paso. She was a Miss USA, and she had gone on to do Mulholland Drive.
Oh, no way.
She's
Paul's favorite movie.
Mulholland Drive. She's the girl with Naomi Watts and I would hear about her from when I was a little girl, like, oh, you should find a way when you get out to LA to find Laura Herring and ask her if she did it. Stuff like that you hear, like my dad was probably like, just send her a card, what I mean? And I'd heard about her growing up and never knew anything about her. And then I remember I'm doing Chasing Life. I think we're on season 2 at this time. Maybe we're still in season 1. And there was going to be the first episode where my mom comes. And we don't hear anything about, at that point, I had nothing to do with casting. I'm just there. And I get the call sheet that day. And I'm like, oh, I'm in hair and makeup. And I'm sitting there in the morning. And I have the call sheet with my sides, and I'm looking. I'm like, oh, who's gonna play my mom? I was gonna like get my phone out and IMDb whoever it was, and and I go and I look and I see that the person playing my mom is Laura Herring.
Wow!
And I was like,
full circle, huh?
Is a god.
She came in. She had no idea what hit her. She probably was excited. She got a new cool job. She's going to be a recurring character.
Right.
And then I'm like, oh my God, you're my hero. I was so thrilled. I'm like, I'm from El Paso. And we're still good today. We get together all the time.
We're fascinated to hear stories like that because you hear the Hollywood stories of like, well, they went Hollywood, or I met my hero and he wasn't, or she wasn't nice. I mean, sure. No, but that's why. No, it is true. She's saying, it is true. But that's why it fascinates me to hear these stories because, I mean, I got the opportunity to meet a couple of my heroes so far, and like Kevin Smith and Robert Rodriguez, and they were the nicest guys in the world. I haven't had a bad experience yet, but I know they exist, and I'm loathing the day when I meet one of my heroes, and sure enough, they're that big. But that's what I'm saying. It's fascinating to hear that some of the actors or actresses, or a lot of them, have a good heart still, and they have the ability to talk to you and maybe even give you advice. I'm assuming, right? Is that something that you've experienced, or?
Oh yeah, I've had such wonderful experiences and some not great, but
sure.
But
comes with the territory, right? It comes with the territory.
Yeah, and then any job, sure. I mean, we have probably a little bit higher percentage of narcissists in our, but they exist everywhere. I come from a family. They're all doctors, and my boyfriend is a doctor, and there's a bunch of narcissists in there too.
For this profession.
So yeah.
It's why they made the Big Bang Theory, just to show you that side of things too. I mean, there's the narcissistic side of science and medicine, apparently.
Yes, I mean, it's the Big Bang Theory, but I will take your word for it. Yeah, but Laura Martinez Herring and I. Or Laura Herring. She and I have become like sisters. And
oh man!
Anytime I have a pilot season, and I'm like, I'm testing for this, and oh my God, and she's always like, "Mira, mijita," she's like some nice dinner, and just like she's the best.
We were just talking about her, Jessica, because like I said, we have another podcast on our network called the Watchtower Podcast, and we're actually going to be reviewing Mulholland Drive pretty soon. So
I bet I can hook you guys up and get her to talk to you guys.
That would be awesome if you can. I mean, that'd be fantastic.
A bottle of wine you owe me.
That's two.
We'll get you three at that point. Because but yeah, it'd be awesome.
Another one of my heroes was Mary Mcdonald. I remember being a little girl and loving Dances with Wolves. She was in Crimes with me. She was the main woman of Major Crimes.
That's right. That's right. Yeah.
Mary Mcdonald is what seemed beyond reach to me, and
I mean, she did one of the biggest quote unquote blockbusters in the 90s, which was Independence Day.
Oh yeah, okay. But also she was nominated for a couple of Oscars, but
for Dances with Wolves
is one of my favorite movies of all time. My dad is absolutely beside himself in love with her. And I remember being 10 years ago or something, we were in Santa Monica where I live. My parents were visiting me. We saw her sitting at a restaurant somewhere, and my dad was like,
my only chance.
Watched her. Oh yeah, I think he watched her for like 5 minutes straight, like didn't move. And I'm like, Dad.
She peeked over.
Yeah, he's like, she's talking, and to several years later, or 5 years later, I get to be in a show with her. I got to be on.
There's a story of a Steven Tyler. I mean, I'm sure you're familiar with Liv Tyler and her work. She's a very talented actress, obviously, and the daughter of Aerosmith, Steven Tyler. And Steven Tyler, or she tells a story where Steven Tyler, is hitting on her friends, and it turns out one of her actress friends was Cameron Diaz, and he's hitting on her totally on, he's just hitting on her whatever, half his age or whatever, and Liv Tyler's like, Dad, what are you doing? Like that's back up. That's a friend of mine. But now that you're, you got these friends, your dad is probably like, hey.
My father has been happily married for
oh, okay.
But my mom was like drooling over her too. What I was getting to with Mary Mcdonald is she took me under her wing when the show started, and it was a lovely woman who is so supportive of me and and we're still friends to this day.
Yeah.
She took me under her wing, has been so supportive of me. I did a play, and she's the first one to be there, and
Wow.
to take me in and be like, look, let me tell you this is a scene, to give me tips. And that doesn't always happen, especially, I think things are changing, but it hasn't always happened. There's been less female roles, and there's been less, but things are changing, but she always would give me wonderful pieces of advice. For example, one that was like, I'd never heard this before. It's don't ever get too close. You guys will find this interesting. As actors, not to get too close to the writers on a television show.
Wow.
We're different.
Well, let me tell you.
I mean, if you want them to write you
exactly,
but
why? Keeping a certain sense of mystery is important.
Yeah, that makes sense.
If they get to know you too well, and she was it was really great advice.
Right.
If you start, so we're on this show, our entire our lives are completely, the work is so intense, right? We're spending 12 hours a day for months at a time before we get hiatus, and we're with these people all the time.
Sure.
You get to know each other so intimately, families, everything. But if you then start going out to get drinks and you start to there is no sense of mystery. So then they're going to be like, well, she can't all of a sudden.
They start writing you, not your character. Right.
And they don't think like, oh, maybe all of a sudden, what if she becomes this? And also, if you keep a little bit of mystery and they don't know everything, then they're always kind of like, is she happy with, is she getting enough material? Is she okay?
Oh, damn.
And if you don't, if you're like, oh, we're so buddy-buddy, then they're like, oh, she's fine. Because if you're a regular character, so I was a series regular on Major Crimes.
Right.
If you're a regular character, they might be like, oh, we've given her enough time. Let's start focusing on some other characters for a little bit.
Wow.
Is she happy? Are we keeping her happy? We better do some more material for this episode. It was such good advice. And she said, look at what happened to this person. She's all buddy-buddy with everybody. And look at how much she gets screen time. Not much. Do you want to get very little screen time, or do you want to get awesome storylines? Do you want to be just the character that doesn't get fun love interest or fun this or that? Or if you want the juicy stuff, keep a sense of mystery.
Actors, you heard it here on the TowerCast. She's dropping knowledge bombs for you. Like
amazing advice. I have like, no. Don't get too close to directors. Don't get too close to writers. Keep a sense of mystery. Don't show all your cards.
That's true. That's true.
Wow.
That's really interesting because I mean, we don't. I guess on the production, behind the scenes, pre-production, all that kind of stuff for writing stories or producing and trying to get things together, we think of like, oh, okay, well, you want to kind of like brainstorm with everybody, kind of get comfortable to the point where you have like a shorthand with each other, like, with us. That's the best thing, when you can just kind of say something and everybody knows like exactly what you're thinking. You never think of that affecting the final product or the story, and especially for television, true. I can imagine like episode after episode you're recording. It's this long form narrative work, having your interactions affecting the story. I don't think anybody really
it makes sense. I think even on the production side, Dalal, to your point, you have us filmmakers, we tend to not give, for instance, if I write a script, my wife will read it just to be nice and give me her take on it, right? But that doesn't quite. She kind of has to. But by the same token, she might have to kind of be nice. Whereas if you give it to a writer friend of yours, I mean, us writers bunch are an envious bunch, to that point. But we'll give each other honest feedback, and especially if you're not too close. If you're really close, you're not going to want to hurt your friend's feelings, and that's true.
Man, that's a way to
I think it's one thing if you're among other actors, you're doing improv.
Sure.
The closer you are, the better. If it's something, I mean, think about your friends, the ones that you're closest to. You don't try to please them as much.
Right.
The ones that you have still a little bit of like, you're putting your best face forward, you're trying to please them. There is something to that in certain professional relationships. And I've learned this. I didn't start this way. I used to be like, oh, if they're a director, if they're this, I'm your best friend now.
Yeah.
No one likes that. No one likes that. A certain level of mystery, a certain level of like, am I happy or not? I don't know. Maybe they're damn grouchy. I don't know.
So Castro, you're hearing it, dude. It's okay to be a diva. There's your thing, Castro.
That's what it is. We don't know anything about Castro. He's the most mysterious man on earth.
It's attractive. It's attractive. Not diva. When someone's an asshole or a bitch.
I was about to say that. That makes so much sense.
No, please tell us the difference.
No one likes it. It's not, you never have to be rude. and no one likes that person. It's like a poison, and I've seen it happen before, and everybody turns against you.
And you get less work as a result, right?
To the hair person, that is the first person that will everybody, and now you are persona non grata. But I'm saying mystery. I'm saying
of course.
Not revealing all your cards. I'm not good at this. I'm an open book, and I'm like, I want to tell you about the fight I had with my boyfriend last night. But I'm working on it because it was such good advice.
You're a born podcaster for that reason, Jessica. It's the reason we wanted you on the show, because clearly you're very open to talk about your experiences I'm
telling you all my secrets.
I was gonna go 3-4 years trying that.
Authenticity. No, I mean that in an authenticity sense. Like you rarely get actors who want to be authentic and quote unquote in real life. But I think that's interesting. I think
I always thought like you have to like put on a show every time, like if you see like an opportunity, a director or a writer, put on a little show so who you are. But the mystery is like that cute girl that you want to hit on because she's not saying anything.
Exactly. When lunch comes around, go to your trailer and don't have lunch with anybody. Really? Yes. I learned that the hard way. Don't go and sit with everybody and be like, oh, I'm your friend. I'm just like you. No, go and be somebody else. You're not like everybody else.
I'm going to take that advice, Jessica.
Be quiet, and then you come back and like, oh, good, I took a little nap. Stay separate. I've learned it the hard way. I know.
And everybody's gonna be like, oh, where was he at? Okay.
Yeah, like, oh, where were you? Oh, I just.
Why is he sobbing in his car? What the heck?
No. The show and the whatever. Again, I've learned this all the hard way, but not to just be. No.
Just don't be over the top.
It seems like a level of professionalism. I mean,
it is. Yeah. Ultimately, it is being a professional.
That's the point, Michael. That's exactly what it is. It's being a professional versus being your best friend. Yeah. I want people now, as I've gotten older, I'm not like the 18-year-old wanting to be on a television show. Yeah. I'm a professional. My work is my work. Oh, sorry. That's my phone.
No worries. If you need to get that.
No, that's not.
Marco's ringtone.
There you go.
It's my grandpa, my tito.
Oh, no worries. If you need to answer, we could.
Yeah, we'll take a look.
Hold on a second. No, I'm just kidding. No, I'll call him back. I'm putting it on silent. How about that? Okay.
No worries.
I lost my train of thought.
No, so you were saying how it's a sense of professionalism, and I think that's
that's what Michael was saying, and I totally agree. I'm not just a friend. It's like now this is my craft, and at lunch I need to recoup, and I'm not just like it's something that like that Mary Mcdonald always did. She never even. There were 13 main cast members. She never hung out with us, and she did. She was never unfriendly. But there was she was up here, and I was, and we all respected that.
Right.
And that's what I want. I want to be number one.
You want to be respected. Yeah. You want to be respected for your work.
At the end of the day, you're doing a job. Nobody wants somebody who's a terrible person. But you're doing a job, and you're going on there. The way I can relate is that I've gone onto sets where I'm helping out with like the grip work, and I'm trying to help out with like the behind the scenes.
With that hair?
Yeah, with this hair. Can you believe they still call me?
I love
it too. It's just
it was supposed to be the color of your background, but it turned out green, so I appreciate the compliment. But no, I've seen people who are very friendly, they're buddy, they're there, and they're at a level where they're hanging out, they're joking around, and they're having a good time on set, and they're enjoying the atmosphere. But it can get to a level where it's that unprofessional. It's that work's not getting done, and
not only that, but in Hollywood, there's always, correct me if I'm wrong here, Jessica, but there's always the producer director that says, oh, she's my friend, she'll do it for free, and you're a paid actress,
more, but sure. I mean, it's like you said about SAG. Like, sure, I might do some stuff because it's Robert Holguin, and I'll do anything for Robert and stuff. But I that doesn't happen once you have certain
certain titles, certain work, filmography of yours is.
I don't think my agent's gonna be like.
I was gonna say that the agent.
Fine. You know what I mean?
No, of course, but that's what I mean. I mean, if you become too friendly, also, it might give that perspective of like, well, they're accessible, they're not busy, they're not. We don't know what they're up. just before you hopped on, I was telling the guys, hey, she's a professional. She's an actor. She's a working actress in LA. So she might be busy. She might not be able to jump on this. And that's what I'm saying. We're grateful to have you, but we understand the professionalism that lies behind that. So I think it's really cool. So you do Major Crimes, and you do. Well, by the way, where was Major Crimes shot? Was it shot in LA, or it was shot in LA?
Yes.
Because it was
right across from Paramount Studios. I see your hat. We were on Rally Studios, who is now completely just Netflix.
Yeah, Rally Studios.
Now it's just Netflix.
And that when I went to LA, when you see that soundstage or that set of sound stages, it's kind of a hidden gem. Because it's not a big studio, people don't realize that a lot of shows and movies were actually filmed on those sound stages, kind of hush hush. And now, like you say, Netflix has kind of taken over it. But how was your experience on that kind of lot? Is that something
true? Yeah, no, Rally was wonderful. I was gonna say, it's still a thrill when I have a parking spot and on a studio lot. It's thrilling. I was grateful every morning. It was a wild experience where, I had I remember my call times. I was the youngest one on the cast. And so I played a detective, which I felt very like, I am detective. I still felt like I'm such a little girl, but I'm not. I'm a woman, and I'm very well a detective. But still, my call times would. The reason I bring up that I was the youngest cast member is because they used me a lot. The cast was the show had been going on for a long time. It started as the closer. The spinoff was Major Crimes. Mm-hmm. Some of these people there were a lot of, I can't find a better way to say it, but older people, and they were getting tired. And so they used me a lot. I was in a lot, I was always there. And so my call times would be like 4:54 in the morning. And,
wow.
They do it in 6-minute increments. Call times are done in 6-minute increments. I don't know if you guys know that.
No.
But yeah, so you get weird call times because then the next one is it's all about in 6 minutes. They pay people in 6 minutes.
Oh, okay, yeah.
It's not us, but like the hair people and everybody else, transportation.
So I think it's a union thing, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. So anyway, it was a crazy hectic work schedule, and it was wonderful, and I did not complain once the entire time. It was the best experience.
And I only ask because again, I'm a nerd when it comes to Hollywood history. I love that aspect of things. In Rally Studios, again, a lot of people don't know. By the way, it has 14 sound stages. It's a big studio within its own lot. And Charlie Chaplin has history there. United Artists has history there. So it's been kind of a staple, but it's kind of one of the quieter studios where basically bigger studios or bigger production companies will you basically rent that studio out. That's kind of how it works. And now Netflix,
like Paramount, who has its own company, and they do their. It's like rented out studios.
Because, Major Crimes, now I think, if I'm not mistaken, Whose Line Is It Anyway films there. Ugly Betty used to film there. So I'm just curious about your experience there, because it's kind of a living piece of Hollywood history that a lot of people don't recognize because it doesn't have the Universal logo or the Paramount logo or Warner Brothers, But I think it's awesome that you got, that was your job for a little over a year, if I'm not mistaken, as long as that show went. And I think
a very long time, but I didn't come on until towards the very end.
Right. Kind of at the end of the show. Yeah. And you've had your experience there in not only Rally, but after Major Crimes, you got to do a very, very cool arc on the Warner Brothers lot. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Well, we shot that in Vancouver.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Supergirl shoots in Vancouver. Most of
the CW
shoot in Vancouver. So we're there next to Riverdale, and I think in front of us, that's where like
the Flash is on there.
100, Arrow, Legends of Tomorrow. All those shows are shooting. Vancouver is like happening.
Yeah.
That was an incredible experience.
How did that go? How was you did 3 episodes, if I'm not mistaken, and
yeah, I did. It was wonderful. It was actually 2 years ago that I was here in El Paso for Thanksgiving, and I knew I probably had the part, but it wasn't certain.
Oh my God, the nerve!
Pinned for it, and it happened to me before on Supergirl. I mean, all the almosts. It's so heartbreaking. The amount of heartbreaks I've had in this business.
Are there any of those that you can talk about that you say, oh man, I almost had this part, and it,
guys, I got so far on getting a Star Wars part.
No way.
Oh yeah, had a director session with Ryan Johnson. Where I mean, the amount of almosts I have had, you guys.
Are you talking about Ray, or are you talking about because Ryan Johnson did this?
No, it was
it doesn't matter. Star Wars.
Felicity, what's her name, ended up getting it. Who was always going to get it? And
Rogue One or no?
It was whatever one she was on. Everything was so secretive, and so you get so close, and they're like, "Oh yeah, they got an Oscar winner." So instead, so
it was Rogue One. Yeah, it was Rogue One.
You get to these last couple, and then it's like, oh, so they went. I could have killed the audition, and then they're like, "But so and so is right there," and she'll take it, and you're like, "Gah!"
But that's the actor's life. But that's the actor's life also, right? That's something to talk about. Yeah,
I've had, and then you get these certain
How do you recover from that? What do you tell yourself? Like, oh, well, I was that good, but I guess
I have a line of scars. Appropriate. Don't even cut that part out. No. It's really hard. It's really hard. It's constant heartbreak. Oh, it's so hard.
You like numb yourself, like knowing like, oh, I'm probably not gonna get the part, but I'm just going. Or do you go in with
so I probably shouldn't talk about this, but I am currently pinned for the biggest job that I would have that starts next year. That would be humongous. You heard it here first.
Oh my God.
This job, it'll be a career changer. I'm pinned for it.
Yeah.
And I will either get it and have an incredible next year. And I'm pinned for it. I'm on hold. My people are all excited. And just as easily as I am on hold, it'll be taken away from me and I will have to lick my wounds and deal with it. And it's happened to me a bunch of times. For like I said, so 2 years ago, Supergirl, I had been pinned for a different villain role. And I was like, oh, I fucking got this. Can I cuss on this show?
Oh, yeah. Of course.
Fuck this. No, I'm just kidding. So, I'm pinned for this villain role, and I'm like, oh, I got this. Don't get it. And
I love the confidence. That's crazy.
Then 2 years ago, I'm here for Thanksgiving. I find out I'm pinned. Jessica, you're the top choice right now. I've heard that before. And I remember I'm here, and it's like a Tuesday, the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. I fly in town, and I was like, and everyone's like, just don't think about it. I was like, yeah, just don't think about it. Next 3 months of my life.
And for those of you that don't know, like if you're an actor, or I mean, on the production side, she's saying I'm pinned. You basically think of a corkboard, and where they pin the actors, pictures and resumes, and that's basically kind of the point. Is once they have their top 5, then all right, out of these top 5, we're going to cast this person. And that's a big deal. That's nerve wracking. Yeah.
I can't tell you how many times I've been pinned and lost the role, for big things. And then occasionally I get it.
Right.
But I have to say, you say, how do you deal with the heartbreak? How do you deal with it? It's like a terrible relationship. Then this wonderful thing comes around, and it's the most wonderful experience. And it is such a high. The highs are so high that it's just, it keeps you going for a while.
Of course.
I want that.
I need another fix. I
I want that, yeah.
It's so wonderful, and I'm a lifer, and it's torture. It's so hard. Had I known how hard it was going to be, I maybe wouldn't have done it, but I'm here, and
But it's important. It's important for actors listening in or watching this, Jessica, that they know that when new filmmakers talk to us, and by the way, we're nobodies. I mean, we
say that,
but when new filmmakers join our crew to do a short film or to do a feature film or locally produce something, I mean, we're an independent company. Everything that we make is out of our pockets, literally. So we tell them, this isn't, if you're looking for a stable career, a steady paycheck, and where you're not going to have 12-hour, 15-hour days, then this might not be the gig for you. But if you love the craft and you love the history and you love cinema and you love TV, then that's kind of the only thing holding you to the grindstone, is like, I love it so much that I can't let go of it, despite the inconsistencies, right?
That's
Actors have to know this. Actors have to know, especially actors.
Other actors, it's so hard. I would be like, is there? And that's that I have family support. I have, I have
father who was
so much privilege. I am able-bodied. I am, I've got all. And the only thing I don't have is nepotism, and that is definitely helpful. I don't have any nepotism. I did everything the hard way, the wrong way, and all by myself. But even then, with all this privilege, it has been so difficult.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And that's that. I'm not going to ever put my successes down, which is another thing I've learned. Like that's that by all accounts, I've been pretty successful.
Yeah. Definitely.
And yet I'm still just like, what am I doing with my life? Why did I do this? It is so hard. It is so hard. It is so much heartbreak. I'm just constant rejection, 100 to 1. And yet, like, then when you're having those moments, like on Supergirl, like on Major Crimes, like these moments where it's such a communal win, and where I've had so many amazing moments where then I'm, being lifted up flying on Supergirl, and I'm in this incredible apartment that they give me for several months, and I'm doing this incredible role that's a role of a lifetime, and then you're like, fuck, I did something great. That's right. This is why I did it.
Yeah.
It's good, and then it's all worth it. And if I get this part, you guys, next year, I am telling you, we're all going to celebrate, and all those bottles of wine are coming back to you.
Let's do it.
So humongous, and we'll be so thrilled. And I wish I could tell you all about it, but
we hope for you.
Maybe off the air. But I gotta ask you, in terms of your success, I'm a big Kevin Smith fan, and he directed a few episodes of Supergirl. And when he talks about, he has a podcast too. So when he talks about his experiences, he says, I fly into Vancouver, and you're right. I don't know how that slipped my mind, but he fly into Vancouver, and he directed episodes for Supergirl, for The Flash, for Arrow. And he's up there, and he says, I go into Vancouver, and they treat him, Kevin Smith, or they treat me as a king. And you're describing it like when you've been casted and you're part of the show, they treat you as a king.
I'd be happy with just the part.
When you're an actor auditioning, it's like you are a fly everybody has to deal with. And then you get the part, and they're like, "Madam, may I back it for you?" I mean, it's bizarre. It is like such a reverse of. It's difficult to explain how.
Well, now to them, you're something.
I mean, how was I guess the best way to ask you is how was working with like Melissa Benoit and working with the crew on Supergirl? How was that experience for you?
Melissa's a wonderful human being. She's so warm and wonderful. That whole experience was one for the books.
Really?
Oh, it was great. Vancouver was awesome. I was gone for like 3 months in Vancouver because there was a whole holiday break. And again, going back to Thanksgiving 2 years ago, I'm here.
Yeah.
I don't know if I have the part or not. And the part starts on Monday after Thanksgiving. That's when the work starts. And I'm here on a Tuesday. Like I either go back to LA to my apartment without a job, or I am going to be in Canada for the next few months.
Wow.
And I'm just like, I can't think about anything else. Oh, my puppy has come to say hello.
Oh, hey, there's a pupper.
It's my child.
Oh, man.
Gorgeous.
My little baby boy. So I'm like.
That's a lot of weight. That's just.
He's not that small. I'm working out at the El Paso Country Club, waiting to hear. And I get the phone call. I'm like all sweaty. I run outside and I'm like, it's my agent. I'm like, what's going on? And he's like, you got the part. And I'm like, I got the part. I even have it on Instagram when I found out that I got the part. And I'm just like, again, I have no chill.
Why? Why would you?
And I'm just like, I got the part. And they, instead of staying until when I was going to stay, which was like Sunday of Thanksgiving, I have to leave right away.
Sure.
They fly me to go get my like super suit fitted. And I fly to Vancouver, and I never go back to my apartment for a couple months. Like that's it. So I packed, and they said pack for a week. I packed for a week, but I didn't go back for a while. I had to like buy all new clothes, which was in fact, you guys, I bought this there in Vancouver.
Hey, pretty cool.
I was about to say.
I just bought a bunch of stuff and it was awesome. And I was like flush. So I was like,
the network.
I didn't know anybody. I didn't have anything to do. So I would just went shopping all the time. So yeah, it's, and then 10 heartbreaks after that, you know, it's a crazy business. It is.
I have to ask, because you know, you're the type of actress that's hit the pavement, right? So when something like that breaks, because you have to wait for that to air, for other producers to look at you and say, hey, we want her for this show, or we want her for this film. After doing Supergirl and after heading back to LA, was your agent saying, hey, you know, this is very promising, or hey, well, let's just kind of wait and see what happens, or what's the experience after that? Is there something waiting for you, or?
The truth is, it's not that calculated.
Wow.
So as far as I know, producers aren't really like, all right, what is coming out?
Sure.
No, like I'm just auditioning.
Yeah.
So while I was doing Supergirl, another heartbreak hit. I almost got a part on You. So I tested for it. They wanted me as like that season 2. There's that news reporter. I forget who actually got it, but it's the same producers. And it's a Greg Berlanti show. It's like Sarah Schechter. Anyway, a lot of the same people work on that. Same casting director. That casting director, I think I got in for him for 10 different shows before I got a part on Supergirl.
Okay.
And my part on Supergirl was actually supposed to go on for a lot longer, and then some other things kind of came in. We were a threesome. One guy wasn't going to go on, and so it screwed everything up. I was supposed to
Damn.
That happens all the time too.
Yeah. Now, did you develop a relationship with? I mean, I'm sure you've been in the industry for a good chunk now. So
don't you give out my age?
No, but you make relationships with casting directors. At the end of the day,
yeah.
That's kind of the
most important thing. So yeah, you make relationships with producers. But think about, this. You are a writer director. How many times you might love an actress, but how many times is that same kind of person, or you see her as one thing? When is the next thing that you do? You guys work on one thing for several years. So when's the next time that you're going to find a perfect part for her? Right.
That's true.
And
either that, or unfortunately from the production side, we also, unfortunately, we want to work with somebody and we have them in mind and we have them almost locked down, and then they get a part elsewhere that may be a better choice for them.
You guys, it's happened to me after Major Crimes. I'm so close to the director, and I did the showrunner, the main guy. I did his next project right away, and then he wanted me for his next project, which was All Rise, and the main part. And there I go, and I'm testing, and great, I'm going to get this next big part. And he wasn't the number 1; he's the number 2. Someone else wants that number 1, and I don't get it. You know what I mean? Like,
damn, that fuck.
The amount of heartbreak I have experienced, it's crazy, and yet.
But like you say, the triumphs have also been rewarding, and at the end of the day, that's what you have to lean on if you want to keep working in this business, right? At the end of the day,
you're just.
Cleaning on.
Well, Jessica, send you those bottles of wine.
I definitely want to ask you this before, because you've been telling us some amazing stories, but you're a fellow El Pasoan, and our listeners are I mean, they're listening to your story right now, and they're saying, could that be me? And they are. And I really want to ask, you've seen the El Paso kind of film community come together on various occasions. How's that experience been for you? Because you're also working with some filmmakers here now, and that is either a good thing or a bad thing, depending on your experience. But how's that experience been for you in terms of the El Paso film community?
I've been so impressed by this community that I think has been really nurtured and is becoming something special. When my first real introduction to it was this film festival, and I met Drew in LA.
Okay.
There was a Texas film event. I happened to be there because of the Major Crimes people. They sent me to go. There I go. I'm like, Drew, he's from El Paso. I was like, excuse me, I am from El Paso. And we meet, we talk, we develop this relationship. And now we're buddies, right? And we support each other. Same thing with Robert. I met Robert, and now anything that Robert asks me, I'm in.
Robert's such a cool guy, man.
The first person to support me. So anyway, you develop these relationships that mean something to you because we're from here, and that's very important to me. And it is very important to me. One of my biggest dreams, and you guys can help me with this. One of my biggest dreams is to make a romantic comedy. I have written scripts. And you said something about me writing, and I'm not a great writer. I'm a better improviser actor. So I basically just improvise my whole script.
I like that.
But my biggest dream is to make a romantic comedy, bring in some of the biggest LA talents, and just as in like production value and maybe some names, and then all local talent and making a beautiful romantic comedy starring me. You can be in it too, John, but it's going to start. No, anyway, so that is one of my biggest dreams.
Jessica, which script do you want? This romantic comedy?
Everything you're saying.
We're right here.
These 48-hour movies, and I was so inspired. And that's what happened. That's how this Good Evening El Paso, I was like, man, if these people are making these incredible things, if they can do it, I got to do something. And so I made a 48-hour movie. It couldn't be judged. I was like, oh, but we're going to do it. And Robert and I put that thing together in like 4 hours. We shot that. And we did it. But it was nowhere near the quality.
I mean, the coffee spilling all over yourself.
Yeah,
that happened in like hours. But I watched your movie. I was completely blown away by the quality. I mean it with my whole heart. There is such raw talent. There's not even raw. There's such beautiful produced talent. And I'm so excited to see what this community does. And I want to be a part of it. And I want to, I'm like, it's a passion of mine, and I can't wait to see what can come of it.
And whether you see it this way or not, Jessica, you have had some immense level of success as an actress and as a filmmaker, and we recognize that because again, you're one of our heroes. You went out to LA and did the damn thing, and we have to kind of meet that bar too, you know. And this is something I say on this podcast all the time, Jessica, and I think you can agree with me. The reason I wear the Paramount hat, the reason I have the Paramount hat, because my wife and I are big Disney nuts. Okay, so we'll go to Disney at least once a year in California or Florida, and we actually got engaged at Disneyland in California. Nice. And in our engagement trip, I made her go to the Warner Brothers Backlot tour, to the Paramount Backlot tour. We went to Universal for like the first half of the trip, went to Hollywood, had the whole thing. And then we went to Anaheim and got to hang out at Disney. And when I went to Paramount, I mean, you geek out in these Backlot tours. I ended up kind of talking to the guy who was giving us the tour and just fact checking, like, hey, this is where this happened, right? And then this is where this happened, right? And then and the guy got sick of me, I'm sure of it.
Pretty sure.
But I'm just, again, I love cinema so much, and I love Hollywood, its history so much. I can't say Hollywood, the town, because it's turned into something else, right? But to the point where my wife, my fiance at the time, she got me tickets to go see Spider-Man at the Chinese theater because she knew I wanted to see a movie at the Chinese theater at the time. And one thing I bring back from all those experiences is I tell my crew, I tell my guys, like, hey, we're doing this right, but we got to do this better. Like industry standard is this. I noticed that we need to do that. Yeah. And it's so important to me that I say this all the time on this podcast. El Paso is a big backlot. That's the way I see it. It's a big backlot. Honestly, that we have the mountain ranges, we have the trees, we have the desert, we have the city skyline aspect of it, we have the downtown town square, we have suburban areas, we have the hood, we have everything.
Yeah. The hood, el barrio.
We have tenemos el barrio.
Juárez, Old Mesquite. Old Mesquite is such an untapped.
Yes,
you know.
Yeah. We have everything, and we have it. It's for our taking as storytellers, and that's kind of what I like to say as a filmmaker. Like, yes, El Paso is not a quote unquote filmmaking town, but we're making it that, and that's one of Drew's biggest pushes too. Is
that's so awesome for that stuff.
Let's get the work here.
Local filmmaking, yeah.
Exactly.
He's been a champion of ours, and he's been a champion of every filmmaker who lets himself be worked with in El Paso, and I can see that you're doing that too. That's, I think, your version of giving back. Whether you see it or not, you are giving back to this community by doing that, yes. Jessica, and I think that's something to be recognized.
We really appreciate it too.
Yeah. So,
well, I guess real quick final question before we get into our last segment. Is there any advice you would say that was, amongst everything else you've given us, that was really helpful as far as bridging that gap from after college to transitioning and trying to make it, or at least putting that energy into it that helped you out?
You want a serious name drop?
Drop it.
Please.
I'm waiting.
Name drop? All right.
Brad Pitt called her up and no.
Oh, I'll give you a serious name drop.
Okay, wow.
Steven Spielberg
said,
my
God.
He said,
get out of here.
He said to me, if you want to do this, don't have a backup plan because you're going to back up.
Yep.
He said, I was like, I was talking to him and I said, I'm an actress. And he said, I said, but I think I'm going to also, like, I don't even remember what it was a long time ago. And I said, I might do this for like a backup or whatever. And he said, don't have a backup plan because then you'll only back up. And I said, okay. And lo and behold, that's what I did. Now, Michael, you asked me, I mean, that was the advice that happened for me. Do I know, like I said, I have experienced like neta, it's really hard. I experienced so much heartache, and I'm so lucky that I have like a family and a support system and people around me that are like, you can, and I feel the support from my town. You might say like, oh, whatever, but like, I feel my town behind me and I feel everybody being like, oh, look, like anytime I do something cool, the El Paso Times reaches out to me, the City Magazine reaches out to me, all the news stations, Stephanie Valle, Robert. It's because anytime I do something cool, they're the first people to come out to come and support me and do something. And so I feel this like, oh my God, I've got to do this. It's not just for me, it's for my town and my family. And I want to make everybody proud. And so whether or not it's been the best decision, it's been the decision. And I think that because I don't have a backup plan and there's nothing else, I get through the lows and I push through. Quarantine happens, anything that I had that was going to happen, those jobs get pushed, canceled, whatever. And I've got to figure it out. It's not like, okay, I get to come home to mommy. It's like, I've got a lot of like, this is it for me. And
go look for it.
So it's been not to have a backup plan. I don't know if that's the best advice, but it's what I did, and that's
it's advice from Spielberg. How could it not be the best advice?
A sweet name drop.
You heard it here on the TowerCast. Jessica Meraz gave some awesome advice from Steven Spielberg. Mr. John Eric Castro, I think you know what's coming up, sir, and if you want to introduce that.
All right, we like to end the show putting the guest on the hot seat with De La O's Good Word of the Day.
I have a Word of the Day segment. We have a Word of the Day segment. Yeah, nobody expects it. Awesome. Okay, Word of the Day. Okay, Word of the Day. So basically, we like to do a Word of the Day segment to help everybody as communicators, collaborators, and just to expand vocabulary. It's fun. We don't know why we do it.
Yeah, no pressure, Jessica. Just come up with something.
So
improvise.
I'm going to give you a word, and you tell me if you know the definition of it or not. So,
she's a USC alumni, guys. I think she'll be all right.
Oh, you just put up the pressure more? Okay.
I know. You're representing not only El Paso, UMC, and maybe God. I don't know at this point. So your word of the day. Alacrity.
What was the word?
Alacrity.
Alacrity?
Yeah.
I don't know. I never heard of
dude, what's up with that, dude? Damn.
Alacrity.
Alacrity? I actually love language, but I have never heard that word in my life.
Give us a hint, Delo.
Well, with every word, it refers to our guest. So I would say that you are very alacritous.
Oh,
merci beaucoup, I think.
So what does that mean, Delo? What's alacrity?
Okay, alacrity is something that has a brisk and cheerful readiness. So I wanted to use that word. No,
beautiful.
The second you came on the show, I mean, you just exuberate this cheerful spirit, and I mean, for us talking to you, it was really exciting, and we're really hoping to learn from you and just hear about your experiences and everything. And you just seem so cheerful and ready and just excited to be here, and we appreciate that so much. I mean, like we've all said,
in love, Michael. Are we in love? What is
no. I just picked Knight's words.
Jessica,
thank you so much for being on. It was
we thank for being on, and I mean this wholeheartedly. You have a crew here in El Paso for anything you ever need,
guys. Let's do something cool.
Yeah. I truly do hope to work with you as a writer director. I truly do hope to be able to cast you in something that could be an amazing story to tell with us.
Thank you so much, guys. It has been a blast, and I hope we do something wonderful here together.
Yeah, awesome. You heard it here on the TowerCast. We had the amazing, very talented Jessica Meraz on the show. She's told us some amazing stories and some of the lows that you have to look out for as an actor in this industry. Yeah. Is there anything, any page you'd like for anybody to follow, Jessica?
Yeah, plugs.
Any plugs you'd like to throw out there?
I would just ask everybody to pray very hard that I get this part that I'm called for. And if I do, we will all celebrate this together.
Yes, because if it's a try, it's
to break legs.
I'm pinned, baby. I'm pinned.
Because if it's a triumph for you, it's a triumph for us. I mean that wholeheartedly, Jessica. So go ahead and also be on the lookout, guys. There's a lot of details still up in the air, but a lot being solidified for the El Paso virtual table reads.
That's gonna be wonderful. Drew and I, we just want to do this and get some fun friends of mine that I can get in LA. If local people have stuff that they want to hear out loud, then we can find some cool table reads, and we want to get local actors. And then if it helps people and they think it's fun, I'll get some friends and some cool people. We can get some fun names to try to do some table reads. And
Tower Productions may or may not be involved.
Yeah, that'd be so great. So it's just a local project that we want to do, and I think we want to do one a month. So Drew's really spearheading this venture, and I am fully on board. I love the idea. Let's see. Again, I'm very. It's a passion of mine to be involved in anything film related here, and let's see what we can do.
Awesome. All right, guys. Well, that about does it for these towering filmmakers. Thank you so much for listening in. We appreciate you if you're listening on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or if you're seeing the view on YouTube or Facebook. We really appreciate you guys. Keep helping us share the podcast. It's been growing immensely. To tell you that we have listeners in Ireland and Jamaica, and I mean, it's been amazing to see the people following this show. So we're really grateful for that. Keep spreading the word, guys. And if you have any questions or anything about the podcast, make sure to shoot us a message. But we thank you guys for listening in. Jessica, thank you again for being on.
Yes. And it was so nice to meet all of you, and this was wonderful. I really enjoyed it.
Awesome. We'll see you all next time. Keep making your films, guys. We love you.